Backpit crew, this is Amir, and man, am I excited for today's review. Because today I've got with me Qubic Systems' newest motion offering, the QS-210. Now this is a system that is designed specifically for post setup on your Luminant profile rig, or any other rig that can accept motion onto its platform. And if you've never heard of Qubic Systems before, they are part of a larger company called Motion Systems that really specializes in building like those hexapod or spider web kind of motion systems, and include even some commercial industrial level type of simulators like for trucks or for aircraft and things like that, to even include building all the motion systems for next level racing. Now before I get into this review, I do first want to thank Qubic Systems for providing me this system. Not only that, but also let me provide my honest feedback and let me show off my own opinion in this video. So anyways, enough with that, let's get into the system itself. Like all motion systems out there, this does not come cheap, but it is quite fairly cheaper than its competitors out there like the D-Box G5, which comes in at about over 9 grand, or its bigger brother, the QS-210, which is now priced at 7,900 euro. This system right here, if you're going to go 3 degrees of freedom, where you're going to get 2 controller boxes, 4 actuators, the rubber feet, the box that contains everything connects to your PC, the cabling, the brackets, which are now part of the kit itself, you're looking at about 5,850 euro. That does not include shipping. But because Motion Systems is a very large company, they do have distributors all across the world. So I'm going to include links in the description down below on where you can buy the system if you're interested for your local area. If you're in North America, UK, Europe, Asia, I'm going to include all those links down there. But enough of this overview. So now I'm going to get into actually taking a look at everything that's included in this system. I'm not going to go too in-depth with this. I'm not going to provide you all the technical data or anything like that, because if I did that, this review is going to take forever. This review is probably going to be about an hour long anyway. So what I'll do is, as I'm talking about the components, I'm going to flash some data onto the side, like measurements and things like that, so you can follow along with that too. But anyways, let's get into talking about all the components. So let's take a look at the individual components of the system. Right now I've got one half of it, the other half is sitting in the box. They're identical, so there's no point of having everything on this table. But anyway, so we have the motion controller box right here that's connected to the actuators through this industrial strength shielded cables. On the top of the actuators you can see Qubic Systems logo. And as I lift it up, you can see red accents on the top and the bottom, giving a bit more color, adding a little bit more flair to it, which is really nice. And by the way, everything here is anodized in black. When I took a look at it, there was no scratches, no chips, no flaking or anything like that. So they really made sure to take care of how the system was painted and everything like that. So it's really, really nice. Yeah, looked at everything, double checked it. Everything was immaculate. But anyways, with these actuators, so you're gonna have 400 millimeters per second of speed, meaning how fast this motion system works. It's going to have 60 millimeters of travel. That's how much the system's going to give you going up and down. Then it's going to accelerate in 0.6 Gs, which is really, really quick for a system of this caliber. So anyways, at the actuator, it's divided into 2 different parts. You have the motor up top right here, and at the bottom is where you have the motion arm. Looking at the sides, so you're going to have this on both sides right here is going to be your mounting options. You're going to have 4 different holes which mount into the brackets that are right here. It's got this nylon plastic covering right here. It's really to make sure that everything sits secure on your rig, the bolts don't come loose or anything like that, which is really, really good. And my favorite part of these actuator systems right here, as you can see on the back, you've got the shielding right here that's going to cover this cables where they're connected. And if you've ever worked with electronics for a long time, any type of playing around with these cables or motion or anything like that, at the connection point, at some point it's going to fail, it's going to fray, it's going to break. So really adding the shielded covering right here, make sure that there's no movement at the connection point where you're going to have the motion with this cable right here, but it's not going to affect the connector part up right here. It's going to ensure you make sure to have a long system. It's going to last for a long time. But anyways, before I put this down, so it comes with these rubber feet. On the back right here, it's got this really, really sticky rubber. And right here, it's got this concave portion right here. And what you're going to do is going to put your controller arm right here. And it's going to give the motion a little bit of freedom to move around because your system's going to tilt and lean, move left and right. So this really makes sure that this system can move freely. but it's not going to go out of the parameters that you set for it. So yeah, you can see it right here as I'm moving it around. And then like when I try to move around the rubber feet, it's on this table, I can't move this rubber feet at all. I'm trying and I can't move it, so it's going to make sure you have a really secure connection to any type of flooring that you have at your house or apartment. So that's really, really good to make sure, because the last thing you want is your rig to be moving around and smashing into your monitors, breaking your monitors. Yeah, that's something that you don't really want. So anyways, like I said, with these actuators, they're connected into the back of this box right here, the controller box. It's showing you the back of it. So you can see on the back right here, it connects right back into here. Everything is a fixed connection point. Is it overkill? Sure, yeah, but again, it eliminates another point of failure on your system, which is really, really good, because last thing you want is, have another point of failure when you're troubleshooting. If something happens, is make sure your cable's going bad. But they're labeled 1 and 2 to make sure you know where you post your actuators. So when you go into the system to set everything up, you know how everything is set up. Now moving to the top of this box, you see the Qubic Systems logo. For me, I'm going to have, I got this system because it was, given to me to review, demo set, not for resale. If you buy this, you're not going to have it, but it's just to make sure that I don't go around selling it. But it's motion. Why am I going to sell it? I'm going to keep this baby. So if you've ever seen the Qubic Systems controller box before, you know with the old system, you had this black covering with a cutout with aluminum plate on the back. That was the Qubic Systems logo. They've changed that and they've added more functionality to it. So you can see it's got more of a mesh design with some holes, and that's going to allow airflow to come in through the box. It's got holes on the sides too, so to make sure you can get maximum airflow going into the system, make sure all of your electronic components stay nice and cool, which is really, really good. And then moving to the side, show you guys this the correct way. You've got mounting holes, and you've got 2 mounting holes on each side. And then same thing on the bottom. You've got about 4 mounting holes right here. So you can sit there and mount it to your rig. But that kind of takes me to one of my points that, I got to talk to you guys about is right now they don't really have a mounting solution for your rigs, which I can perfectly understand because everybody has different rigs. Everybody the sizes are going to be different. So it's really hard to make a one-size-fits-all mounting option for this box. Because the last thing I want is to have these boxes sitting on the floor or on my rig. If anything moves, I don't want the rig to fall on it or anything like that, or have the system move around. So what I'm going to end up doing is probably going to the hardware store, grabbing a metal plate, and then mounting the plate to this and mounting it to the rig. And that's something I have brought up to Qubic Systems, like, hey, do you guys have a solution inbound coming for mounting options? And that's something that they're taking into consideration very seriously, because again, they don't want people breaking their box or anything like that. So there's something that they are taking a look at. But again, it's really hard to make a one-size-fits-all type of mounting solution. So I hope they do come up with like an add-on or like a kit where if you have a SimLab, you can buy the SimLab solution, or you can buy the Track Racer solution, or whatever rig that you have, that they have like multiple solutions that you can pick from for mounting options. But yeah, so that's right here. So you can see on the back right here, you've got your power connector right here with your power switch, 2 RJ45 connections, your toggle switches, and that's what you're going to be using to set up, controller box 1, controller box 2, with your 4 posts. And then also if you're going to have traction loss, if you go with their traction loss system, and then you got your PCI connections right here. What also comes with it too is you're going to get an RJ45 cable, and that's going to plug into the back right here. And it's a nicely shielded RJ45 cable, nice and strong. And make sure, again, because it's shielded, it's going to minimize any type of EMI issues that you're going to have. And also, I said it comes with this PCI cable. It's nice. I mean, there's not really anything, I can't say there's nothing really wrong with it. Right here is, I'm a little worried about here. This part over here is exposed. And the last thing I want is something like this cable right here to get damaged. So I wish like there was more of a shielded option right here where everything here was covered, because if this cable ends up getting tugged on or anything like that, it could get damaged over time. But if you do some good cable management, this really shouldn't be an issue. That's going to come with your power cable. I've got the European power cable since I live in Europe. and they're talking to them. So it's going to come with 2 different options. If you're in North America, you're going to get the North American plug, or if you're in any other region, you're going to get the European power plug, the UK power plug, and the Australian power plug. So brackets. So like I said earlier, the QS-220 didn't come with the brackets. You had to purchase those separately, but now the brackets do come with the kit if you purchase the system. And it's got quite a bit of different mounting options here too for any type of different rig that you have. For me, when I mount this on, I'm going to use 6 different holes to mount everything, make sure everything stays nice and secure. And on the side, you've got the 4 holes, and that's where it's going to connect into your actuator arm right here. And again, like, I haven't noticed any damage or any type of flaking or scratching on anything that's been anodized in black. Everything is beautiful because everything came wrapped very, very nicely to make sure that there was no damage to anything done. So now looking at what was in the box, where you have the M controller bus right here. So this is going to plug from the system right here, and it's going to go into the back of your PC. On the top right here, you can see that it's an anodized metal black. You got the Qubic Systems logo. Then on the back, you've got, who it was manufactured by, your serial number. And on the side, it's a rough texture, it's a rough texture plastic. I don't know if it's 3D printed or not, but it's very nice. I mean, this box is going to sit right in the back of your PC, so no one's going to see it. So it's not really going to matter. You've got your RJ45 connector right here that's going to plug from the back of this box. And then here you've got your mini USB connection that's going to go into your PC. The next thing that comes in that box is your Terminator RJ45 cable. So this system is designed to be modular, so you can add components as you want to build this up. So you've got, you can connect 2 controller boxes, you can add traction loss to it. So what you're going to do is at the end of the system, so let's say you have this set up as your number 1-2 controller box, or number 1, then you have your number 2 controller box. This is going to plug on the back of your number 2, and that's going to make sure that the signal doesn't travel any further than your controller box number 2. It's going to tell the system, like, hey, this is where the circuit stops. There's no need to further add any more signals or send any signals further than this point right here. Going on to it, so you have a little short USB that's going to plug from the M-Bus box to your PC. It's kind of short, but it's not a big deal because it also comes with a very long shielded RJ45 cable. So it makes the short cable not really a non-issue for me, because you're gonna have all this length right here to go from the box to the back of your PC. Again, a really nice shielded RJ45 cable. No issues with this. And then you're going to have the stop button right here. And if you've ever owned a DD wheel, you already know what this is. This is going to make sure that if something happens with your system, something goes haywire and you need to stop the motion, you press this button, it's going to stop all motion, it's going to cut power to everything to make sure that you can get out of your rig safely and you don't get any injuries. But yeah, so to open it, you just press down, twist, and it's going to unlock, bringing power back to your system. It's just your normal stop button, nothing really different about it. What I do notice, and I don't know, I haven't really reviewed any other wheelbases, but like for my SemiCube, didn't really come with any mounting options either. I wish there was some way to mount this system onto my rig, but not really a big deal. I'm just going to use some double-sided tape and then to add this onto my rig until I can figure out a different mounting solution for this. But yeah, it's not really any different. And for, just a disclaimer for you guys, if you've never had motion, if you've never had a DD wheel, so you want to mount this somewhere close to you and doesn't have any obstructions in the way. So the last thing you want to do is like mount this behind your wheel, because the last thing you want is if your motion is going crazy, you have to reach around your wheel and to press this button, which is going to add more time for you to stop everything, but it also can add some more injuries if your arm gets stuck behind the wheel or anything like that. So make sure when you mount it somewhere that's close to you, doesn't have anything around it, that can immediately just hit the button to stop everything so you can get out of your rig and figure out what happened. But yeah, so that is all the components. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get this stuff all added to my rig over here, and then we're going to test out the software.
So once you've got everything installed onto your rig, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Qubic Systems webpage and we're going to go and download the software so we can get the motion system working on our rig. On the website, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to software and then downloads. Scroll down just a little bit so we can see everything. All right. So down here, so on that M-bus controller that you have, there's a serial number. So you got to take that serial number and you have to input it right here. Once you've done inputting it, then you're going to hit the download button and that's going to download the software for you. And then once it's done downloaded, you're going to have to unzip it and then install it onto your machine. So once you've installed Qubic Manager and opened it up, the first thing you're going to notice is you're going to have a couple of stuff on the side, on the right side, where you've got different tabs and things you can click on, but in the middle, you're going to have all these different game profiles. And these are the profiles. These are just really the default profiles. They're not really, I mean, they are configured pretty good from the get-go, but you might have to do some fine tuning. But before we can get into that, the first thing you want to do when you get into Qubic Manager is you want to go into Action Center. Because really, Action Center is going to be telling you everything that you need to do to get everything set up the initial way for the most part. And that's really to make sure that you can tie your games into Qubic Manager. Like make sure that motion and telemetry is all that enabled in all the different sims from the racing to the flight. So once you've taken care of everything in here, then you can close that out and then you can go into Tools and Diagnostics. So the first thing you want to do in Tools and Diagnostics, and by the way, there's a lot of different things you can do in Tools and Diagnostics. You can set up, you can configure your motion, you can configure your VR. So if you got VR and you want to add motion to it, you can configure motion compensation with your VR to make sure that your VR is not out of whack compared to your motion, and that's going to make sure, not really make sure, but you're probably going to end up getting sick between the two different signals you're receiving from how the motion is in VR and on the motion system. So you can do motion compensation if you've got VR or Screenway. They've got dashboards. You can hook up all your different accessories into this software right here. And I'll go into a little bit of those later on. But first thing I want to do is go through devices. And here is where you want to do the initial configuration of your motion platform. So the first thing you're going to do is when you open it up, you're going to see your devices. So you're going to see the QS-4XX. That's for your motion system. Then all the other 4 different posts that are connected to the controller boxes. So first thing you do is going to hit configure. And here is where you configure how many posts you have, how is the orientation, and things don't like that. So like option 1 is if you got 2 posts, option 2 is 2 posts plus traction loss, 3 post setup, 4 post setup, just traction loss, and then the 4 post setup with traction loss. For me, I've only got the 4 post setup, so I'm going to select number 4. We're going to hit next. And here's one of the very important parts that you got to do for your configuration. So the first thing you got to do to make sure of is you got to make sure that your posts are configured in a perfect rectangle. So if you have something like a track racer where the rear comes out a little bit more, you might have to add some profile on the front to make sure that you are on an even rectangle with these posts. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure the width. And the important thing here is you want to configure from the center of the post, not from the ends or the sides or anything like that. You want to measure from the center because that's where your arms are at. So that's where it's going to be calculating the motion. So for me, when I measured my width, it was 690 millimeters. And then you want to measure the length, and that's going to be from the front post to your back post. Again, you want to measure from the center of those posts. So for me, my measurement was 1160 millimeters. And stroke's going to be grayed out. It's going to be automatically 60. Then depending on how you configured your motion, where you placed your posts. So for me, you're going to have different layouts. So you got 8 different layouts to choose from. So like layout number 1, this is where you have post 2 and 3 on the front, and then posts 1 and 4 on the back. You've got 8 different layouts. For me, I have layout number 4, where I have posts 1 and 2 on the front, and then posts 3 and 4 on the back. So once you've done that, then you just scroll to the bottom, and here's going to give you some details about like the temperature of your motion, the temperature of the box, the voltages and things like that. And it's just going to show you that in live time. Then last thing here you want to do is you want to configure between heavy duty and performance. If you have the Qubic Systems QS-210, you're not going to have Q mode. The Q mode is only for the 220 because those are bigger actuators where you need to have a lot more power go into them to really compensate and give you the exact acceleration motion of what you'd experience on track. Because these posts are smaller, you don't need to have Q mode, so we only have heavy duty and performance. Heavy duty for me, what I really found out that this works with, it really works out with your truck simulators like American Truck or Euro Truck Simulator, because you're really going to be doing moderate acceleration or moderate speeds and things like that. Whereas if you're going to be doing more of your racing stuff, you want to have on performance mode so you can get really the max out of your speed and acceleration out of your actuators. Once you've selected either option that you want to use it for, you hit OK, and it takes you back to the devices page. The next thing you want to do is you want to configure your leveling. And what I mean by leveling, what they kind of mean here is because not everybody's floor is going to be perfectly level. Your leveling can differentiate from where the posts are. So you want to make sure that your system is completely level to make sure you get the most out of the motion on your platform. So to do that, and I'm going to click it here, you're going to notice my profile is going to start going up and down. We're going to select generate base signal to enable everything because right now everything is grayed out. So we hit enabled, and now you're going to see on my screen, yep, my motion is going up and down, and it's really calculating where everything is at. So you can see my balance on the front is perfect, but my balance in the rear is off. So we've really got to configure that and fix that. As we're playing around with it a little bit, so it's going to change a little bit. You want to get it as close to the middle as you can. And so for the sake of not wasting all your guys' time, I'm going to keep it right here because it's kind of in the middle. But you can play with this a little bit more to make sure that everything is perfectly level and balanced between all four posts. So once you're done, you can unselect generate base signal. See my rig now moving down. Everything's been kind of put back into its default mode. And we're going to hit OK. Once we've done that, we are done really configuring everything as a normal basis. And then we're gonna go. I'm just gonna go through some of these menus. So you've got tactile audio. So if you've got butt kickers or things like that, you can configure them. Dashboards, like talking about your screen dashes. If you have dashes, you can help you out here to configure everything. If you've got button boxes, there's a lot of different things you can really do here to help you make sure everything's used within one system. Next thing we're going to do is we'll go into software configuration because I want to show you something here that's really cool too. Here's just like your generic stuff, so your general settings. But here we can also configure hotkeys to do some minor tweaks and changes while you're in the game. So you can configure hotkeys on either your keyboard or you can configure them on your button box or your steering wheel. So that way if something is a little off when you're in the game and you don't want to get out or anything like that, you can kind of edit things here. So you select your controller, so you've got your density for me. Like right now, I've only got my wheel connected. I don't have my button box on right now. But here I can select different buttons on how to configure my hotkeys. So, if I want to pause my motion, if I want to put it in park mode, center mode, turn off the motion compensation if I have VR. You want to map your VR coordinates. There's a lot of things you could do here, or if you want to change profiles, you can change profiles through just a quick hit of your button. So there's a lot of different things you can do here on how to configure your motion or readjust it when you're into a sim. Profile database, this is really where all the profiles are going to be at, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later. Then once we've done everything, configure everything, we've got it done right. Now we can go in and actually configure everything per sim that you're using. So they have here pretty much every single racing title or flight sim that's out there. They already have profiles for you here. Any type of racing game or flight sim that outputs telemetry, you're gonna be able to have a profile here and configure it to your liking. So like, for example, I'm gonna scroll down. So you've got a lot of different games here where you can have motion for. Just scrolling through them all pretty quick. And if you've noticed, there's one game that's not on here yet, and that is Forza Motorsport. So right now I'm filming this before the release of the brand new Forza Motorsport, but on October 10th there is going to be an update to Qubic Manager to where you will have the brand new Forza enabled in Qubic Manager to use when you're playing that title. So like right here, I've got, look like the iRacing, for example, because I've got multiple different profiles, and I'm going to explain why. So we'll go into the default profile that's in your right here. So here, you can really configure the motion platform for your liking in each specific sim, like I said. And so once we go in here, we're going to go into motion. And here you can figure how the motion is going to be moving, how fast, how slow, how the speed's going to be, your body roll, your body pitch, any kind of violent hits or anything like that. You can configure that all right here. And then we have SFX, which I didn't really speak about, but this motion platform also has haptic feedback. And what do I mean by haptic feedback? So this really generates special effects that's not really related to motion. For example, you're going to be able to feel your engine, your rev limiter, your gear shifts. So you can configure all that in here too to get pretty much essentially almost any feel you want out of your sim. So you're going to have, like I said, gear changes, you're going to have wheel slip, the threshold of the wheel slip, your rumble strips, violent movements, like for example, if you hit something, how violent are those movements going to be? Your engine vibration intensity, where the engine vibration is coming from. Are you driving a front wheel drive car? Are you driving a rear wheel drive car? You can configure where most of that vibration is going to come from between all the different posts. And then we have post motion processing. And this is something you can adjust that's not really, once you've gotten the telemetry from the game, that's how your motion is going to be reacting to. But you can also do some motion post processing where the motion controller boxes are going to be doing some post processing where you can change some things in your motion too to compensate. Like, for example, if iRacing is a little too harsh or not too fast, you can adjust a lot of things here. And if you configure your motion way completely out of whack, then you can just factory reset everything back to its normal. And then you got settings and troubleshooting. So if you want to do some troubleshooting stuff, or what you want the motion to do when you're not in the car. Let's say you're still in the sim, but you're not in the car anymore. So that's where you can have your motion like stop immediately or act like you're parked the car where the motion doesn't actually turn off all the way. Center. So you got a lot of different options you can do on to make sure you tune your motion for you. The other cool thing about this too is it has a profile sharing feature, like a cloud feature where you can share your profile with other people, or you can grab other people's profiles. For example, like if you don't have a lot of time to tune your software or you don't really know where to start, you can grab other people's profiles, try them out, and if you like it, you can use it. And if there's little things that you don't like about it, you can sit there and do like minor adjustments to it to get it to your liking. So once you've done everything, like you can edit. So yeah, I'll open up another screen. That's not the one that I wanted. That's just configuring, but we'll go back. So here, like once you've configured everything, you can save it, and then you can export it so you can give it to other people to use. And then once you've got the profile configured the way you want it to, you just hit activate, and that's going to activate that profile for you. So once you jump into the title, it's going to start everything up for you, and then you just go start racing. So you'll hit activate, and then you'll hit the run the game, where it'll give you a new dialog box, and you just hit the default, and that's going to start up the title for you. So you're probably thinking now, because I talked about like cloud sharing profiles and things like that. So here's where you can go. You can go into profile database. And here is going to give you a lot of different options for a lot of the different sims out there. Right now I've got I put in there some stuff to show off just iRacings, but it's got different profiles that people have shared for this platform. And you can sit there and import it. So we'll import it into your main page. You can rename it, call it whatever you want, and then you can start using that profile and go racing with it if you don't want to take the time to configure your own profile. And you can sit here and search by title. So like, I'll go back iRacing, you hit enter, and it's going to show you all the different profiles that they have for iRacing. I'm just scrolling down so you can see all these different profiles. So here's we want to take a look at and make sure you're actually using the right device too. Because some of these devices are only for certain things. This is going to give you like all the profiles for all the different systems that Qubic has. So you want to really pay attention to your devices. So a QS-4XX, that's going to be the 210. And here's, those are the profiles that you want to look at. If you've got traction, traction loss, not traction control, traction loss, you can look for that device name right there and you can download it too and use it that way. And then here, if you've got other games that they're not showing up like on the here you can select, I've got a long list of games where if the game Qubic Manager hasn't found it for you, you can just hit locate and you can go out and manually find where the game is for you. So really guys, yeah, that is it for really the Qubic Manager software. And then if you guys want any setups or help guidance, let me know in the comments below. If you guys want to know, like have a video on how to really actually go in and configure everything for the specific sims, I can go ahead and do that too. Just let me know in the comments below and I'll make a whole new video for like the big sims that are out there with my profile of choice for this Qubic Systems motion system. And then after that, so let me go, we're going to finish this and then we're going to move on to the next part of the video where I'm actually trying out the motion and giving you my impressions about how the system really is. Alright guys, so we're in the rig. I've got 3 cameras set up for us. So I've got the main camera over there that's going to be showcasing the movement of the actuators. The camera on me so you can see my expressions and kind of how I'm dealing with everything, the seat moving and all that. And then I've got on the other side the picture of the in-game footage so you can really correlate how the motion works with the sim itself. For this test, I've picked out the Porsche RSR. It's one of my favorite cars on the service. And I think because it's got a stiff chassis, it's really going to lend into the motion to really showcase what these actuators can do. And we're at the Nürburgring combined track where it's going to combine parts of the GP track with the Nordschleife. Whereas you got the GP track's a very smooth surface. There's a little bit of elevation changes. And then it's going to transition over into the Nordschleife part where it's a very bumpy track. You got a lot of high curbs, low curbs, elevation changes. So that's going to really see how the motion is going to be working once we hit all of those things. As we're going along, I'm going to give you some of my opinions as we're going, see what I'm feeling. And what's the other way to do that is to get out on track. So, all right, let's start the session. I've already hit test, and I can already see that the rig's moved a bit. It's already getting everything fixed for me in place. And the first thing I can notice, like when I'm revving the engine, because of the haptic feedback of the system, I can feel the engine vibration coming out from the rear of the car. I don't feel it from the front of the actuators, but I feel it in the rear, which is really good. As I'm revving it, like I can really feel the motion going through it. So we're going to go out, I'm going to shift, and automatically I'm going to get that, that nudge to the back going off. We're going to go down a little bit. You'll see the actuators dipping a bit. I'm not going to go too fast on this track because I really want to showcase the movement. But as I shift through the gears, like I get, pushed back into the back of the seat. Going around. Hit that curb, I feel on the back actuator. And as I brake too, you can see the motion actuators dipping too. I can feel that as we're going in. Hit the curbs, you see how the actuators on the sides moved over. Now the other side, because I hit that curbs really hard, so I got a really nice hard movement out of that. Feel the rumble strips. And now we're going down. I can feel now as we're going downhill, the actuators move down and dip a bit, pushing me a little bit forward. And now we're getting to the bump areas. I'm really feeling all these bumps, which is really jiggling me around. We hit that curb, I could feel it on the front actuator. We're going up the hill, you see the, now we're gonna go up this hill to see how you can see it really dip back. Like that was a really good, like, you know, almost gave me like a lump in my stomach right now as when you're being pushed back on something. Now we're gonna go downhill. I can feel like, all right, I'm being pushed forward. It's really giving me a really good sense of what's happening on the track, what's happening with the car. Because not only now am I getting the vibration through my steering wheel, what's going on, but I'm also feeling it with the actuators too. Like I'm starting to feel, yeah, I'm feeling every bump, every curb that I'm touching. Like, oh, like the rumble strips right there. And with the response of the system, the response is very, very good. I really can't, you know, there's, the minute I hit something in the sim, it's happening with the actuator, so it has got a really good response time. Oh, feel that little dip right there. All right, we're gonna go down. Lock the brakes, don't want to crash. I really enjoy it, but yeah, with these gear shifts, like it's really, I can feel it on this actuator, really, you know, give me that quick hit to the back as you're shifting through the gears. And it's really giving me a good sense of how the elevation is at the Nordschleife. Like, because if you've ever been on the Nordschleife, the track has a lot of elevation changes. I can really feel it in this system right here. I know with recent years, yes, they've resurfaced a lot of the Nordschleife. This isn't really the most newest scan, but I enjoy like feeling all these bumps, getting shaken around, getting moved around. Really, the actuators are really letting me know what's going on with this car on this track. Go this bump right here. And the one thing I'm really enjoying that I'm liking too is the minute like I switch directions, like the rig moves along with you too, really letting you know what's going on. So the minute like my car snaps, oh, going through this bumpy part, getting shaken around, like it gives you that sense of motion too as you're moving from side to side. Like it's letting you know that the suspension is actually working on this car to make sure that it keeps all four wheels planted. Alright, here we go into the twisty parts. Going into what everybody calls right here, this area, the YouTube corner, where everybody in real life spins out. So I hit the rumble strips. Yeah, really enjoying all this motion that, really all the feedback these actuators are providing me, because it's really letting me know what is going on. It's not distracting. And here for the jump, whoa, got a nice little hit from there. So yeah, once like I have this dialed in, like it doesn't feel distracting at all. It really is giving me a lot more information about what's going on with this car. And that's probably like one of my biggest gripes when I go and try motion systems in a lot of different places is a lot of these companies will dial up everything to, like, you know, on a scale of 10, they dial it up to 20. Because they really want to throw you around. They really want you to see how strong these systems are. But what I really enjoy with this, like even just on the base profile, like everything feels good. I just had to do some minor tweaks to make it more to my liking. Now we're entering the back straight where it's like a really bumpy area, so you can see me jumping up and down. So if if you've ever driven on this track and you've lowered the car too much, like you're gonna end up scraping. So it's really giving me a good sense of how bumpy the surface is, how the suspension of the car is working, which is really, really cool. Yep. Same again, jiggled around. As we're moving, yep. Now I'm getting that sense of going downhill, now going back uphill. And I'm braking, I'm hitting these rumble strips, and I'm feeling it on all sides as I'm transitioning left and right. Man, whew, that was one lap around the Nordschleife in motion. That was so cool. That was so awesome. I know I made a couple of mistakes because I'm sitting here trying to drive, but I'm also trying to talk to you guys to give you like really what I'm feeling. And now we're back onto the smooth part of this track where now the motion's not working too much. But yeah, like this is so cool. I don't know why I have not gone motion a lot earlier than this. Alright, we're gonna do one more lap to really showcase everything. Like right there as I shift, like just hit that really quick jerk. I'm feeling the vibrations of the engines as the revs are going up. Like, that's what I think, what I really like about this motion system is not only am I feeling the motion, but also having the haptic feedback to where I'm feeling the vibration of the motors, I'm feeling the gear shifts, I'm feeling a lot of things other than just motion. And the Qubic systems, they've done a really great job on making sure these all this feedback that the system is providing you is not kind of like merging together in like one big, like, I don't know, like, I don't know like what words to describe it with, but just like in a puddle of goo where like you can't really tell what's in it. Everything feels very distinct. Everything feels so crisp. From the motion of the car, going uphill, going downhill, to feeling the bumps on the road, to feeling the rumble strips, the engine, the gear changes, like everything is so, like everything just goes so well together with it, like a really, I don't know, like I would say like a really good pizza. Because I can sit here and feel everything, I can discern everything, I can tell everything apart from each other. So I really know what's going on. Like I think only thing that I would need to do now is, man, just try this out with traction loss to see how that really is. I've tried other traction loss systems. I've tried full 6 degrees of freedom motion systems. Those were great too. But as far as I can tell now, like this is probably one of the best 3DOF motion systems I've ever tried. Like right there, I hit that curb, I only felt it on the 2 actuators on the side. I didn't really feel much on the other side. Really let me know where my car is on track, where my tires are hitting. As we go down, like I feel this dip just going down. It's really, really nice. And all that, I feel the gear shifts, I feel the engine vibrations going through. And to go with it too, like, I don't have my headphones on. So I can hear the system. The system is not really loud. It's, once I have my headphones on, I don't hear the actual motion system itself, but because I have my headphones off, I can feel the motion system, you know, moving around, doing its thing. But once you have your headphones on, or if you got speakers playing, you're really not going to hear the motion system working. But I mean, for if you people that live in apartments or anything like that, like where they got really thin walls that really, you know, where vibration really travels really well, I don't know how that's going to be for you, because each motion is really going to, you know, if you got really thin walls or thin, you know, like floors that really transmit vibrations really well, yeah, I mean, that stuff's going to get heard through other places. But not really because of sound, but more because of the vibrations that this system generates. As we're going through, we're entering now the really twisty parts of the track. Gonna head up the carousel, we're gonna get it right this time. Missed my breaking point there because I'm just too busy talking to you guys and having fun with this system. Alright, let's try to nail the carousel, and oh, this is so bumpy, like it is in real life. I've been on the Nürburgring quite a few times, and that is probably one of the most teeth rattling spots on the whole track, and it feels the same exact thing here. Oh. This thing is amazing. This thing is great. I'm really enjoying this. Oh. I mean, there's not really much else to really say about this system. I mean, I've already spoken as much as I can about it, where, again, I really give, you know, Qubic systems, and, you know, motion systems, because, you know, they're really one company, is really give them a lot of props for being able to produce a system like this that is, I mean, relatively cheaper than a D-Box nowadays, that really provides you really great feedback. And then, you know, not all the signals that you're gonna coming out of the telemetry that's being put into the system is like not, you know, nothing's jumbled. Everything is, you can feel everything separately. You can really tell what is going on this track, in this car. Hit the curb one more time. Oh. Go through the last little mini turn before we get on the straight. Like I see this, whoa, get lifted up. Almost lost the car there. Now we're hitting in the back straight. Yes, even though it's a back straight, it's really bumpy, and now I'm getting thrown around, jiggled around, like I would happen in real life. Like, oof. Coming up to the Touristfahrten entrance and exit. If you've ever been to the Nürburgring or never been to the Nürburgring, this is kind of where you enter on the track, or on this part here, where you've got a restaurant called the Devil's Diner. Really good food there if you ever go to this place and visit. That's where everybody really hangs out at the Nürburgring. Here we are, we're finishing up the Nordschleife portion. Woo. Hit the curbs one more time. Oh, man. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. Woo! Really, so that's right, guys. I took you around 2 laps of the Nordschleife with this motion system. Oh my gosh, that was one of the best times I've ever had in a sim. So great, so amazing. Yeah, so I guess what we're gonna do now is we'll probably jump into our final conclusions, where we talk about a couple more things. And yeah, so let's move to that. So what are my final thoughts on the system after having it for a little over a week? Well, I've got some pros and I've got some cons. And my cons aren't really related to the system itself. It's more of things that you have to think about if you were going to end up going motion on your sim rig. So for me, the first one is you need to have a rig that's going to be compatible with your motion. So you're going to need an aluminum profile rig or any other rig that has the mounting options for motion. The next thing you got to consider is how much space it's going to add or how much movement. You got to compensate for the movement that's going to be added to this rig. Because for me, for example, I have a triple monitor stand that's standalone, and I had my monitors sitting between my wheelbase and my wheel. So because of that, and I wanted to keep that, I had to adjust my triple monitor stand. So I had to widen the legs to keep it further away from the rig. And I also had to raise my monitors up a little bit higher so when I'm actually moving, my steering wheel column is not hitting my monitors. And then my last con is more towards the mounting solution for the motion controller boxes, because right now there's not really any way to mount those controller boxes to your rig. So you're either gonna have to put them on the floor or you're gonna have to come up with something on your own by either getting metal plates from the hardware store or making your own mounting bracket solution for your rig. So I did talk to Qubic Systems about this, and they are well aware of this issue that they have, but the problem comes into there's not really a one solution fits all type of deal. So, you could do telescoping arms, but that's going to add more stress because of the motion that's going to be going on. So they are looking at ways to add like another add-on way to where you can have, mounting brackets for your sim lab rig or if you're a track racer. So that's something that they're going to be working on, and hopefully we're going to see something pretty soon coming out on that. So really, that's it for my cons, and now I'm going to get into the pros. And the first pro for me was consistency. And what I mean by consistency is how does the motion platform perform as I jump from one sim into another for when I go from iRacing to AMS2 to ACC to AC to rFactor 2. So I did jump from iRacing open wheel cars and I went into the AMS2 open wheel cars. And I can say for the most part, it was very, very consistent. There was slight differences that I had to go into the system and change a little bit, but there were just like minor tunes that didn't really affect anything, but just to make it feel a lot more comfortable to me, which I really enjoy. I don't want my motion system to feel very different when I go from iRacing to rFactor 2, and I have to sit there and do all these different changes. I would like to see using just like a couple of different profiles and not have to have multiple different profiles for all these different sims that are out there. My next pro is the responsiveness and the sharpness of the system. And the system, I can say, is very, very sharp. I can sit there and tell all the different effects that this motion system is telling me while they're happening at the same time too. For example, like when I hit a rumble strip that's on the left side of the car, I feel that rumble strip, but I also feel the road bumps on the road on the right side, or in the engine sounds where I'm shifting gears, doing elevation changes. I can feel all those effects individually when they're happening at the same time and not like really this hot garbage of mixed signals that I have really no clue what is going on. And with the system being responsive with 8 milliseconds, there's not really any lag. I couldn't tell if there was any lag at all. As soon as I was doing something, hitting a rumble strip or hitting a curb, I was immediately feeling on the system itself, which is really, really good because you don't want to get thrown off by hitting, the rumble strip. And then like half a second later, then you actually feel it because it's really going to throw you off your game and it's going to throw you off and not really let you know where you are on the track. My next pro is going to be noise and heat. And with the noise, when I had my headphones on, or if you have speakers, you're really not going to hear any noise coming out of your motion system. And I tried it to see if I could hear something coming out of the actuators themselves when I had my headphones off. I didn't hear any noise coming out of the actuators, but there was some noise coming from the rubber feet at the bottom, and I could hear the vibrations as the motion system was working. So it's not very loud, and it's not really going to distract you from your sim racing if you had headphones or speakers on your system. Now, if you live in an apartment and you've got neighbors, that's something I can't help you with. And then for the heat, so I sat there and I tried it for quite a while, and during my league race that we were having at Daytona, it was an hour and a half race, and then once I stopped the race, I actually went and touched the actuators. I didn't really feel any heat coming out of these actuators, and then I went into the system. So normally the temperature sit about 21 degrees, and all I can say is maybe it went up to 25, 26 degrees. So there wasn't really any heat. You don't have to worry about once you're done sim racing, if you get out of the rig, if you're going to use the actuators to get out, that's not going to be an issue for you. My next pro is going to be the software. And this is where, when you have a software or like if you have a brand new system where there's a lot of different parameters you got to change or different things that you got to tune, it can become a nightmare for you to actually go through all the different menus, how to change everything, how to adjust everything. But I'm glad to say with the Qubic Systems Motion Manager, is everything went pretty smooth. I sat there and I installed everything. It gave me some pop-ups telling me what I have to do, like going through the action center to set everything up, and then go into the devices to make sure all my actuators are configured properly. So, and there's a lot of good help and tutorials within that manager to really help and guide you on how to set everything up properly. The profiles are right there, right in front of you. All you got to do is hit, click on it, activate it, and then you can jump into your sim and start sim racing. So my next one, I don't know if I'd really want to call it a pro or a con, because that's really going to depend on you and what your budget is, because it is motion, it is going to be a bit pricey, but it is cheaper than, for example, the D-Box G5, which comes in at over $8,000, and also the bigger brother to Qubic Systems QS-210, which is now with the new price is below $8,000. So this system right here is going to cost you about 5,800 euro, and it's going to depend on where your reseller is and where you're at in the world. But it's good to see that we have options that are cheaper than, for example, like the D-Box and some other manufacturers that are out there too. But again, I can't know if I can really call this a pro or con, because that's really going to depend on you and what your budget is and what you're willing to spend on going motion. So in the end, this system is amazing. I think it's one of the best motion platforms that are out there. Now, when it comes to price, I can't make that call for you because it's really going to depend on you and how much you're willing to spend on a motion system, what your budget is, and how much it really is worth to you. But I hope I gave you enough information to really make an informed judgment call if motion is the future for you and if this is something that you're actually considering. If you got any more questions, please let me know in the comments below. I do plan on releasing some more videos on the system, how it works in the other sim, mostly on the sims that are out there. So let me know if there's anything specific that you want to see. But as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to know when we have more content coming out for you guys. But yeah, that's it from me, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I hope you have fun racing. Later.